Hello everyone, my name is Lauren and today I'm teaching you how to be a Dungeon Master. But before we dive into the wonderful world of Dungeons & Dragons, aka D&D, here's a little history on how-to videos. How-to videos are shared primarily on the platform YouTube, but have expanded to different platforms such as Facebook and TikTok. One of the primary creators of how-to videos on YouTube is Rob Kenny, who owns the channel Dad How Do I. As reported by Today in 2020, he offers his dad advice to his viewers, aka his kids, because he grew up without a father and didn't want anybody else to experience that. His videos cover a wide topic of knowledge, such as how to tie a tie, how to change a tire, and how to jumpstart a car. Now on to D&D. D&D is a massive role-playing game that has taken the world by storm. It was established in 1974 and recently shared its 40th anniversary in 2014. Campaigns for D&D, which are established by a dungeon master, can last anywhere from 6 months to a year, which is a big time commitment. The longest campaign, as reported by the Nerdist in 2017, has actually been going on for 35 years, essentially since D&D was created. Being a dungeon master is a huge role to play and very crucial to playing D&D. Dungeon masters are required to making sure there is a massive world for their character or their players to expand on, to adventure, and to have different misfortunes on. Being a dungeon master is incredibly hard and requires a large time commitment before you even begin the campaign. Sometimes it's hard to establish and set a schedule to play D&D because of conflicting schedules, people working, people going to school, and general emergencies. Luckily, nowadays, we have platforms such as Microsoft Teams and Zoom so people can still conduct their D&D sessions at a distance. There's even apps on your phone such as D&D Beyond, which allow you to download different handbooks and to be able to play with your friends and create characters on your phone to keep them with you at all times. There's also the choice of getting your own very own player's handbook, which allows you to create your own character in the back of the book. Being a dungeon master is incredibly hard because you have to have knowledge of everything in the player's handbook, but luckily there is also a dungeon master's guide, which allows you and helps you pick out certain creatures, characters, and different terrains for your players to go across. Now, when you're actually doing D&D gameplay, the dungeon master has about 6 sets of dice on them, depending on what is needed for their character. And yes, they have their own characters themselves, they're just not always announced to the players. The players never follow a set script, so being a dungeon master requires you to be very creative and able to adapt to any circumstance. Sometimes your characters can decide to adopt a wild animal out of the blue, and you have to be able to flow with the motion of whatever it is they decide to do. Some of the dice they have depends on damage that the players have for their own weapons or magical items, but the major one is the D20, which is your ultimate decider. Most of the little dice, as shown here, is used to add damage or to see how much their weapon themselves hit. Dice also come in a variety of different styles, such as metal, plastic, and even wooden. Being a dungeon master is incredibly hard and takes a lot of skill. The maps they have, and they create themselves, are often used and displayed for months at a time. I do not have an example of the maps they use, but they normally build them by hand so the players can see what they're dealing with and where they're going. Players also create their own little figurines to journey with them, depending on what they style the character as. There's also creatures that the Dungeon Master can put on the field to establish, hey, if we have to leave, this is the creature we are fighting, and they leave it all there, so when they come back to the next session, it's there to continue. Dungeons & Dragons also has different varieties of books that help and guide people, especially the Book of Monsters, that helps Dungeon Masters create certain monsters and scenarios for their players to go through. That concludes my talk on D&D. I hope you found this very informative, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!